Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today are Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers a disaster waiting to happen? What are we talking about? Well, as you guys know, 2 weeks ago, our long national nightmare ended when Aaron Rodgers decided to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers to be their quarterback for the 2025 NFL football season, and now we are officially in prediction season. And this led to get up having a discussion about Aaron Rodgers, his fit on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and what our expectations should be for the Steelers. Should we consider them to be Super Bowl contenders, playoff contenders, or are they just going to be a flat out disaster? Well, ESPN NFL analyst Mike Tannenbaum came out with a scorching hot take about how Aaron Rodgers is going to fit on the Steelers and said that the Steelers and Rodgers will be irrelevant by the time Thanksgiving comes around, which is around week 12, if I'm not mistaken. So let's go ahead and watch this clip here, and then I'll give you guys my take on the other side.
I'll make a bold prediction, Greeny.
Let me hear it.
I think Aaron Rodgers could be irrelevant by Thanksgiving.
Irrelevant.
Irrelevant. Wow.
By Thanksgiving?
Whoa. Yeah. A non-playoff team, a 42-year-old quarterback who's a legend that's going off into the sunset.
Explain this to me, because I think, tell me how the Steelers are not going, particularly with a little bit of an easier early schedule. They're always relevant deep into the season. This is going to be the year it falls apart?
Yeah, Greeny, the inverse is tell me why they're going to be relevant, because they're the third best team in the division. They're going to have to find out about Will Howard, who they drafted from Ohio State, who I think is very intriguing. I don't think they could really win this division. And I think by the end of this season, we're going to be talking about a massive transition.
Hold on. So Baltimore, I will give you in the blink of an eye. Baltimore is the class of that division. Cleveland is finding itself. That's being kind. Cincinnati, we spent an earlier portion of our show this morning eviscerating their offseason. Their defense isn't bad. It's embarrassing. And so you tell Pittsburgh finished ahead of them last year with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. You're telling me you don't think Aaron Rodgers can be better this year than those guys were last year?
No, I think that's fair, but I think Joe Burrow with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase for all 17 games, I think they're going to outscore teams. To me, their offense, in terms of where Pittsburgh is between those two teams, won't be able to outscore Baltimore and Cincinnati.
I just want to remind people here.
Yeah.
Mike Tannenbaum, not given to hot takes very often.
No, he's not.
Has said that Aaron Rodgers is going to be irrelevant by Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving.
Yeah, because I just don't see a way
Mike.
there. Go ahead, Lou.
What'd you say, Louis?
I said this feels personal, Mike. This feels personal, man.
No,
To be irrelevant, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, but this feels personal. It feels personal. Hey, look, I mean, they're
Honestly, it could be kind of personal because if you guys don't know this about Mike Tannenbaum, he was the Jets GM in the time of the Rex Ryan years. I believe it was like 06 to 2012. The Jets hired Mike Tannenbaum's company to help them consult on who they should hire for the regime post Joe Douglas, post Robert Saleh. So it could be a little bit of a bias there because he's still friendly with the Jets people. And the fact that Aaron Rodgers made the Jets look like, a clown show is probably something that he would maybe hold a little bit of a grudge with, especially if he has people in the Jets organization constantly probably telling him how terrible Aaron Rodgers was. But to Aaron Rodgers in this season, I've been thinking about this with Rodgers. And when does Aaron Rodgers in his career, when over the course of his almost 20-year career now in the NFL, when has he been the most successful in his career? And it is when people are downing him. It is when he has a chip on his shoulder. It is when his back is against the wall. You go back to the early part of his career. He's trying to prove to the Packers, to the NFL, that he's the worthy heir to Brett Favre, that he is an elite quarterback. And, they go on, win a Super Bowl. The very next year, he wins the MVP. The Packers go 15-1. The next time Aaron Rodgers is doing in the best stretch of his career, it's right after the Packers decide to draft Jordan Love because they think Aaron Rodgers is over the hill and his best football is behind him. And Aaron Rodgers comes out and he's like, you guys wanted to use a first-round pick on my replacement instead of giving me help on the offensive side of the football or help adding a piece to our defense. Okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to win back-to-back NFL MVPs. I'll show you that. The best times of his career is when we are expecting the least from Aaron Rodgers, when we are not expecting him to do well, when he gets a chip on his shoulder. And now I look at Aaron Rodgers and I look at this current situation that he is at, Everyone is doubting him. The Jets was a complete disaster. No one wanted him. The Vikings didn't want him. The Rams didn't want him. A bunch of different NFL teams didn't want Aaron Rodgers. People have been, dragging his name through the mud over the course of the entire 2024 season and this entire offseason. So if there's ever going to be a situation with Aaron Rodgers with a more stable organization here with the Steelers with a better offense, you can nitpick some of these different parts, but I think it's maybe a different offensive line if you're comparing it to the Steelers of last year. DK Metcalf is certainly a better receiver than George Pickens, and why not Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers being productive in this offense? Why not the Pittsburgh Steelers going from 10 wins to, let's say, 12 wins with Aaron Rodgers behind center of the quarterback? Why not? Well, I'll tell you why not. Because I think homie washed. I think that his best years are behind him. We haven't seen Aaron Rodgers play well since the year 2021. You can look at his stats last year and you can be like, okay, well, his stats still look pretty good. I mean, if you compare Aaron Rodgers' stats to the rest of the quarterbacks around the NFL, bro, Aaron Rodgers is still a pretty good quarterback. Well, if you just look at the stats and don't look at the games, or you didn't watch any of the games, you might think that. But if you watch the games, you saw that Aaron Rodgers has lost all of his mobility. He's afraid to get hit. He's getting rid of the ball too fast. And he had a really good offense last year. He had Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen. I thought the O-line for the Jets was pretty decent, and last year was a complete disaster. It did not matter. So another part of this, too, is, Max Kellerman got a lot of heat for his Tom Brady will be a bum in short order, and he's going to fall off a cliff, and yada, yada, yada. You guys know that whole rant from Max Kellerman. But the logic behind his rant is still accurate. Because Max's hypothesis or theory was, hey, whenever we see quarterbacks hit the age 40, it's just their production falls way off. Well, Tom Brady is the all-time outlier of outliers, and he obviously played till he was 45 and was a really good quarterback until he was 45. But Max's opinion, if you take that with every single other quarterback that we have had in NFL history, is still 100% accurate. Just a few guys that have retired over the last few years. Big Ben, his last good year was when he was 38. Matt Ryan was 37 when he retired. His last good year was when he was 35. Aaron Rodgers' last good year when he was 38. Kirk Cousins' last good season was when he was 34. He's now 36. Eli Manning's last good season was when he was 35. Derek Carr, 33. Phillip Rivers, 34. Tony Romo, 34. Peyton Manning, 38. Carson Palmer, 36. Like, you just go through all of the other quarterbacks that have, called it quits over the last decade or so, or the last 10 to 15 years, and they hit that mid to late 30s, and it's... So why would Aaron Rodgers be any different? Why would he be any different from any of these other guys? Because we probably have already seen it, especially, too, with Aaron Rodgers. He had a very traumatic injury. Tearing your Achilles when you're 40 years old, it's just going to be harder for you to recover from that versus if you're 22, versus if you're 25, even if you're 35. So I'm out on Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers this season. I don't think it's going to be a disaster like he says, but I think they'll probably be a borderline playoff team. And I think we're going to kind of see the same old Steelers where they get into the playoffs and they get their cheeks clapped immediately out of there, or they're just right on the outside looking in to get into the playoffs this year. That's my prediction. Hope I'm wrong, Steelers fans, but more than likely you guys are probably going to be shopping for another quarterback next offseason. So there you have it. That's going to do it for this episode here today. If you like this video, make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you check out the other videos on the Sports Detective Podcast channel page. We're trying to crank them out almost every single day this summer. We kind of got a little bit of a setback on that last few weeks as I was dealing with like a throat issue and it hurt for me to talk for a few weeks. But we're past that. We're still not 100%, but we're past that and we're starting to feel better. And we're going to be getting into a lot of preseason, off-season, season preview stuff for NFL and college football coming up over the next few months. So make sure you subscribe if you like all that stuff. Again, leave a comment, subscribe, help support the show that way. We really appreciate it. And thank you for watching. We'll talk to you next time.